And welcome to This Is Why We Fight. I'm Jo.
And I'm Jordan.
Hello.
Hope you're all well.
And welcome to anyone listening on Walden Radio. Hope you've had a great weekend. It's really good to be back. And I'm sorry that we were late. We just read the funniest story.
We were not late. We were time zone challenged.
Oh my God. I'm actually going to show that trailer after we do that story because it's just so good. Yes,
I don't
welcome.
know what you're going on. You tell me all the time, don't do this sort of thing. Don't laugh at something and then don't tell people what it is. And now you're doing it to me.
Well, we'll get there. You will find out this evening. So yes, good evening, everyone. Hope you're all very, very well. As usual, we're going to go through some of the headlines this evening and have a look at what's been going on in the last week. And boy, there's been some goings on. Should we get straight to it?
Oh, fair enough. That was speedy.
It is. Well, there's a lot to get through.
But do you know what isn't terribly speedy? And that's how slowly the government likes to move. Specifically, how slowly the government likes to move when it could possibly turn out that they have done something slightly wrong, i.e., possibly, allegedly allowed somebody to die.
So I'm sure most of you have seen this headline if you have a news feed. And this, of course, is referring to the previously unsolved death of Daniel Morgan.
It's still unsolved.
Well, previous to now, allegedly, who was killed with an axe in a pub car park in 1987. I'm going to let Jordan read out some of the headlines here. They're amazing.
Oh, fair enough. Well, the brother of a private investigator hopes to report into his unsolved murder finds institutionalized corruption in the Met Police, as it is published today, 34 years after he was killed with an axe in a pub car park. Met Police is bracing for a damning report into the handling of a murder probe. Police misled MPs over the 1987 murder of private detective. Morgan's brother expected... Sorry?
You said private detective. It's private investigator.
What does this say, Jo?
Well, oh my God, really? Well, they say private investigator further down. Journalism! Sorry, carry on.
Apologise to me, personally.
No.
You've insulted me.
Never.
You insulted me. You made me feel like I couldn't read.
In my defence, you do sometimes just make stuff up that isn't there.
I never make stuff up.
You do. You just insert words, just random words.
What I do, look, I read quickly. As in, like, I read very, very slowly. But when I read words, my brain looks at a word and says, that's close enough. And then I just insert that word into the conversation. Okay. I often do the same when I speak.
Okay.
I'm very impatient.
Do you want to tell everyone what we were arguing about before the show? When you tried to explain to me who was investigating this murder?
Yeah. Look.
What was her name? Clarissa.
Where's this woman's name? Mum, give me a second. I'll find it. I don't see the issue, okay? I got half of them right, okay? Her name, as stated earlier on, is Clarissa Dick.
No, it's
Jo apparently could not understand who the hell I meant by the top copper Clarissa Dick. She was getting confused.
No. You said, I want to cover that story about Clarissa Dick. And I said, what story? You said the one with the murderer. I said, what are you talking about? And you said, the top copper. I went, oh, Cressida Dick.
Exactly.
But no, Clarissa Dick could have been a person. There are lots of dicks in the police.
Look, I don't know what this name is. I give up, as shown on previous examples, i.e. Friday's show, where I just completely gave up trying to say that geezer's name, whatever it was, Tinny Bombo. I gave up, right? It's the same as with this. I don't understand what these letters are.
There's another show gone. Okay, let's get back to the actual story, because this is interesting.
The main part for me. Just Dick. Just keep that name in mind. It's very easy to remember. You don't need to worry about that. It goes on to explain. There's like a whole bunch of information. I know nothing about this. This happened like 5 years before I was born. I wasn't even a zygote at this stage. There's nothing. There's no recollection going.
Not even a twinkle in your father's eye.
No, not a thing. Speaking in May, he said it opens deinstitutionalised corruption. Good enough. There's been some very bad policing going on there. And not just at the beginning, it went on and on and on and on in one way or another. In the current situation, I think it's extraordinarily unlikely that anyone will ever be convicted of the murder because of the mess that has been made en route. Kind of begs the question if it's on purpose or not.
So what we've got here is a murder, a weird murder, because in 1987 we weren't very diverse. So an axe murder in a car park, probably unexpected, probably a bit out of the ordinary. And we were sitting here thinking, well, that's incredibly weird and unusual. What possible motive could there be? And then we looked into what this young man was investigating. Would you like to do the big reveal, Jordan?
Indeed, that will be the next article, which I've got coming up. Actually, wait, was it not this article?
Yes. If you go to the picture, it's underneath. The big picture with the two of them.
Oh, there it is. There we go. Daniel Morgan pictured, the geezer on the left. Yeah. Was investigating claims of crime within the Metropolitan Police when he was murdered in 1987. So he was looking into these people. He was thinking they were a bit dodgy.
So what you've got here is a private investigator investigating the Met Police for corruption, who is then weirdly killed with an axe in a car park, and the police investigation was cited for an independent evaluation because of corruption. I wonder what the motive for Daniel's murder could be.
This is where things get rather interesting to me. I completely forgot this independent panel was set up. It's also kind of hard to believe that Theresa May was...
She did something right.
Was she a... No, she wouldn't have been PM then, would she? Of course not. This is when she was Home Secretary.
I don't even think she was Home Sec then, was she?
Yeah, she would have. She was Home Secretary.
Oh, 8 years. 8 years ago. Sorry, the independent panel was set up 8 years ago, so she would have been Home Sec then. What a great record the Tories have as Home Secretary.
Tough on crime. Just saying.
Only some.
Anyway, Morgan's brother said he had no faith in Commissioner Dick. His first name is invalid. Who has been accused of being behind an earlier shabbier report into the killing. This woman has a bit of a history of popping up in these sort of things.
She does. I wonder if that's why she's on this massive push to diversify the police force and make it easier for non-native English to join. It's so that they can't read her dodgy reports, isn't it?
Well, just so long as they're not Brazilian, it's okay.
She hasn't aged well.
No, she hasn't. I forget about this from time to time. The fact that she was involved in this just murder, basically. There was nothing else to it. For anyone who remembers at the time, the Brazilian geezer, he was on the tube. He was just sitting there minding his own business during the 7th of July terrorist attacks. And the coppers entered the tube carriage and then shot him while he was sitting down. And this was the woman who was leading it, who's just been accused by Morgan's brother of butchering an earlier report and is now in charge of the police. It's almost as if... It's almost as if allegedly getting away with something.
Allegedly, people on the payroll... get promoted. You could argue she looks a bit stressed. I mean, lying to the general public for so long must take its toll.
She looks a little...
I mean, look how Boris has aged, for goodness sake.
Hey, I saw Boris running down the beach earlier on.
Oh, God.
Got to give him credit there. I also saw Boris walking very, very closely along with the other G7 leaders and then walking out onto the stage miles apart. More than
Social
the necessary
distancing,
6
masks
foot. They
on.
must have been about 10 foot apart.
This is an interesting line, and I can't believe this is here, so I'm going to read it. Enjoy, everyone. In a letter seen by The Guardian, the family said Dick could not be trusted to ensure that no police officer acts with impunity. That is a woman, Tash, ish. I do believe that she is gay. That haircut tells you everything, actually.
Oh, I forgot this was the reason that he was shot. He was mistook for a suicide bomber. Now, the last time I checked...
I'm sorry, are they saying they all look the same? That's incredibly racist. That's incredibly racist.
I was just going to say that Brazilians typically look like the sort of people that are suicide bombers.
What is the world coming to? Clearly there is institutional racism in the police. Can't even tell the difference. I'm shocked and appalled. I never thought it would come to this in my country. Shame on you.
Right
Shame on you, Cressida Dick.
Anyway, are you done with this story, or are we moving on?
We're moving. I want to do the good one next. Just to get it out of the way, I'm right in the mood for it.
Oh, fair enough. Okay, well, I'll find you the good one.
Don't reveal the name straight away. Read out the headline first.
Would it be...
Don't put it up on the screen until you put the name up, until you say the name.
Oh my, you want that woman?
Yes.
Okay, I'm very sorry. I was mistook. I thought you meant the other thing.
No, this one. This is the best.
This, in terms of name fitting a crime, this is absolutely fantastic. I never go on Yahoo News. Never in my life have I been so happy that I did that. Because a woman named Machete.
Oh, what? You just...
This is what you said to do. Shut up.
No, I said don't show the name until you say the name. I wanted you to read the story. It makes no sense now. You haven't given any background.
Don't say the name until you show the name. Are you a pleb?
No, don't show the name.
Do you want to work? Do you want to work that out in your tiny, feminine brain? Do you want to give that a second attempt?
Oh, here we go. So basically, before Jordan butchered this story, this woman was jailed for attacking another woman with a meat cleaver in a pub after an online feud. The funny thing about this story, which Jordan has already blown the big surprise now, is her name is Carlene Machete. Sorry, my feminine brain just failed me then. Carlene Machete, 38, slashed the 34-year-old victim at the beach-themed event at the Dog and Partridge pub in Bilston, West Midlands in July 2019, leaving her with a fractured skull. Machete! Her name is Machete. How is this a thing? How is this a thing? Anyway, on the back of that, I've got a treat for you. She's not Machete. This is Machete. I'm just
Jerry, I don't make you wrong, mate. I think she did. Look at that silence. The COVID push.
Right, here we go. I've got a little treat for you all. Okay, let me just... Oh, thank you.
No,
right, here we go. Here we go. Right, we're going to go with this one, I think.
What the heck is this? Did you share audio?
Yes. Most people have heard of this. There you go. That's Machete. This woman is a wannabe.
Okay. Was that worth it?
That was so good. Machete. Anyway, right, back to the stories. There you go. Well, I know you don't watch anything.
Are we carrying on in order, or like the script's gone out the window? No idea what's happening. Just go for it.
Just go for it. You can do the rest.
Just go.
You can choose.
What do you mean I can do the rest? You don't do any of them anyway.
Oh! Don't you start on me. I think Mum and Dad are going to have a row.
Anyway,
Yes.
I can get that woman and her nasal cartridge off my screen. Cartridge off.
Oh, God. Yeah, it was quite something.
What was that? There was a wonderful comment from Johnny Not Pow. You didn't put it up on screen. I sent it to you. You're very, very rude and lazy today.
Oh.
He said in his joke, I bought a knife that can cut through 4 loaves of bread at once. It's a 4-loaf clover. Cleaver. Whatever. I got there in the end.
There you go. I found it. I'm sorry I was on the other page. Very good. Thank you. Dad jokes are back. We've missed them, Johnny Not Pal.
It did.
So we're
especially for me.
Back.
Anyway, back at the queue. Europeans get to enjoy summer holiday while Brits are stranded at home.
I still think that's a weird phrasing. You can't be stranded at home. Stuck at home.
It doesn't work. Like, of all places to be stranded, to be honest, at home, that's the place to be. I don't mind being stranded at home. Stuck at home is vastly different. What this seems like is a journalist who's recently discovered a thesaurus. That useful little right-click thesaurus feature that you get on Microsoft Word. They've recently discovered this. Anyway, Brits face missing out on holiday hotspot abroad. Holiday abroad, rather. Ignore me. While European tourists are booking trips and flocking to tourist attractions, we've removed Portugal from the green list last week. Tragic.
So, question. Lockdown hasn't been eased because of the danger. Boris and the G7 idiots are all just, hugging each other. Indoor events are completely safe. Outdoor events must be safe by default. But we can't leave the UK. Everyone can come in, but we can't leave. Is that what's going on here?
Correct.
Brilliant.
But you are allowed to leave if you then want to sit in quarantine for 10 days. Because reasons.
What reasons? What if quarantine was just going to an indoor venue, which has been deemed safe?
It's basically all it is, isn't it?
This, for people who are still following the government advice on lockdowns and other measures, can you truly listen to this nonsense and say
while they're having barbecues?
These people are going about their lives as normal, and we're in lockdown. Told to stay in your home, but your borders are open. Anyone can come in. I thought the point of quarantining yourself from a safety aspect was to prevent other people bringing diseases to your country, not allowing everyone else to spread disease into your country and preventing you from leaving. Ridiculous. Of course they can leave. They're not locked down, are they?
It's interesting that these world leaders haven't had to have a 10-day quarantine. What happens if they bring in a new variant? There you go, Maiden Call. I have a question for you. Did you enjoy having G7 down in your local area? Was it fun for you? Was it like the Backstreet Boys coming to town?
What's Slippery Joe? I mean,
Slippery Joe.
Well, yeah, he's.
I think what you mean is Stairmaster Joe.
The thing is, if they did bring something back, you'd never find out where it's from, would you? Because everything's racist, including COVID.
I did find it.
And you can't say where the variant's from.
No. This is what I want to bring up. You're not allowed to say where the virus variant is from, but Keir Starmer is allowed to go on to radio and call it the Boris Johnson variant. Apparently, naming a variant after an individual is perfectly fine. Naming it after a nation? No, racist.
I mean, Boris is the cause of many of our problems, so I can't really say. That might be one of the few times I actually agree with Keir Starmer. Although we all know the disease is the government and the media.
It is rather weird. What do you make of the new GB News launch?
I haven't watched a bit of it. I hear they had some problems. And I hear that people have been boycotting them.
I mean, have they been boycotting them because of, like, because they're obviously evil, fascist Trumpites, Boris Johnson loving, controlled media, or have they been boycotting them for various other reasons?
There was a GMTV interview with a lady whose name has slipped my mind for the moment, where she was arguing about the lack of due diligence regarding vaccines, the fact that we couldn't have long-term data without, long-term data, essentially. And she got shut down. Well, she appeared via video link on the Dan Wooten show, I believe. And yeah, a lot of people have just blasted them for that. But let's make no mistake, the real issue with GB News is that it claims to be the news that you wouldn't get on the mainstream. But it's, of course, subsidized and funded by exactly the same people.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about this, weren't we, with Sky News Australia. And while Sky News Australia have an amazing array of opinion pieces and appear to be on our side, you've got to remember, they wouldn't exist if they were truly on our side. They'd be shut down. They wouldn't have airtime. But you've got to keep giving people hope. The demoralization thing, it's like good cop, bad cop. If you just brought people down constantly, where's the fun in that? You have to lift them up occasionally, give them something to hope for, and then snatch that hope away. And that's what I think Sky News Australia, as much as I love listening to them, and GB News are going to exist to carry out. It's this kind of good cop, bad cop thing.
The Sky News Australia thing is bloody interesting because they do say a lot of stuff every now and then that is at least on the money. Might be kind of that false flag, as it were, but it is on the money in what they're saying, and it's interesting the number of times they're able to say things and get away with it. They are obviously, as you said, just allowed to exist because it suits the purpose of the people paying their wages.
English Will says, I heard they had a bigger audience already than BBC and Sky News. It doesn't surprise me. It may be the novelty. It may be that people are falling for this idea that finally there's a news outlet that's actually telling the truth. I
do want to bring up one article. It's not even an article, it's a video, so I can't play it. Grove says no extra support for firms hit by lockdown extensions. In what planet is it acceptable to say you're not allowed to open your business and then say, yeah, you're not getting any money?
In a tyrannical one. If people had ignored the initial lockdown and kept their businesses open, they would have been arrested. So your choices were prison or financial ruin.
Exactly, which is no choice at all. That's not a choice. That is the definition of theft.
Or maybe not prison, but a fine. Either way, you're out of pocket.
Well, if you don't pay the fine, you go to prison.
Well, that's true. John Francis says, just quickly going back to the last story, a lot of boomers don't like GB News because they criticise Boris and the vaccine. Aria says, if you idle buggers had clapped harder, then none of this would have happened. Yeah, we're so bad. Damn it. I knew we should have clapped like seals.
There you go.
Ben Mew says Dan Wooten does lose it with lefty straw manning the public. Wasn't he on Talk Radio or LBC or one of those? Isn't he the
LBC.
the guy?
I think LBC. The name is familiar, but not super familiar, if that makes sense.
Crosshatch 2 says, they want to kill, decimate the economy. When I have an argument about it that makes my blood boil, when they come back with their just making sure you're not seeing the dinghies coming in. Yeah, well, this is the thing. This is all about subversion, isn't it? It's all about distraction. Andrew says if it's on the idiot box, then it's regulated by Ofcom. Therefore, it can't deviate much from the official narrative. I suppose, again, when you have people donating, like companies, corporations, donating funds to your project, of course they are buying influence over it. And this is why all of these things are, if not corrupt, then corruptible. So
I do expect it to fill in that nice Australian Sky News Australia tick box in this country. I expect it to go quite hard and every now and then to come out with something that's actually truthful. I don't think it's going to be awful, that's for sure. I think it's going to be passable, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Oh, that's interesting. From Ben Mew. Sky News UK is owned by MSNBC. I didn't know that. Broken Silence says business owner is just another word for unemployed now. Unfortunately, that is the case.
Pretty much.
How can they sleep at night? Asked Maid in Cornwall. I think they sleep just fine. I don't think they see us as human at all. I don't think the cost of what they've done affects them at all. So why would they care?
At the end of the day, they're probably the people who are going to benefit from it. Because all those little businesses that have gone pop, they are then going to be replaced by larger companies. And they have shares in those larger companies. Or their friend owns one of those larger companies and things like that. That's how they work.
John Francis mentions the New Culture Forum. I very much like this show. It's on all
What
media.
is it? Fill me in.
I can't remember the name of the guy now, but it talks about real issues. It's kind of it's very sort of middle to upper class take on things. So it's all very professionally done. It's all very nice.
The name sounds very familiar. Yeah, okay. I know the geezer you mean. Peter Whittle.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I actually quite like him. He seems like a pleasant chap.
But he is, this is not mainstream funded, so he can have any guest on that he wishes. I know that he's had a few other media guests on. I know that he's had Peter Hitchens on. I know that he's had... No. Oh, speaking of Peter Stringfellow, I thought that annoying plumber guy had sold his business. Now he's still banging on about jabs for jobs. No jab and you get the sack, and no job for you. Julia Hartley-Brewer was another one. Quite a few good guests on there. Good talking points. It's just, it doesn't strike me as quite real. Not maybe in the way that we would discuss something that's going on.
It's more a what's the word I'm looking for here? What's the name of that bloody awful woman who had the Jordan Peterson interview?
Oh, Kathy Newman.
It's more of that sort of interview style.
Yeah, I mean it's all very civil and polite, but there's no real debate. I mean, it's just people agreeing on things. And while it's good to get the talking points out, sometimes a challenge to something might be.
In USSR, that was called debate.
Ha ha.
Thank you very much. You ruined my joke by carrying on.
Sorry. Yes, pressure release valve. Thank you. I was trying to think of the phrasing for it. Talk radio, yes. Talk radio. LBC now is just like the Farage show was the biggest show on LBC as far as I'm aware. or unless you count the JOB show, which should be called SOB show. But yeah, it was, I don't know, it's just, I found it all very clinical and they don't really get to the meat of the problem. But then, I don't know, maybe that's just the style I prefer. Anyway, let's move on to the next story.
What was the next story? I'm going to go find the damn thing. Oh, that was it. Thank you for the wonderful, build-up. It was very helpful of you to let me know that there was going to be one coming up shortly. Ooh, what the heck is happening? There we go. Plan for new national service for 14-year-olds in a bid to heal divided UK. This is really interesting because of a line that Joe found out of this. I haven't read it at all. I'm not sure why I'm sharing it and not Joe.
Well, I can read through it, but basically this story is very misleading.
Extremely. The national service implies going out and doing stuff, i.e. military things.
Yes.
Or even just general, cleaning up around town sort of stuff.
So I'll read through a bit of this, but it's just amazingly disingenuous. It says Downing Street are looking at brainchild of former government education advisor John Yates, which would see 14-year-olds spending a month with pupils from other backgrounds. Other backgrounds, you ask? What do you mean? Different classes, different financial situations?
I have to say, a weird picture.
Yeah, I hate that. So Downing Street is examining an idea to bring back a form of national service aimed at healing divisions in our society. Divisions that they caused. But it would be quite unlike conscription during the Second World War and in the 15 years after. Instead, it would mean 14-year-olds, why 14? Very specific age, spending a month in term time with pupils from other schools and backgrounds, both rich and poor. So far, so good, except that it's misleading. They'd be put in teams of 12 to bond on camping and hiking expeditions and would learn new skills to benefit their local communities. Sounds like they're shouting from our hymn sheet here. Let's see what else they say. So John Yates runs the 200... I can't see that. Is that 209
200
million?
million.
Oh, 200 million youth. 200 million pound youth endowment fund. We know what these people are like with children. So it's a charity and it helps children caught in a spiral of knife crime. So we all know who this is aimed at. And oh my God, that face. Deport it.
That's what I said. Oh God, when I scrolled down and there it was. Oh no.
So the national
It's so shiny.
I think he waxes. He must wax. The national service idea was inspired by Yates' new book on Fixed Now Fractured Society. It is exciting, number 10 aides who have ordered copies. We all know what MPs feel about young boys, don't we? So this is very concerning for me. Mr. Yates believes 14-year-olds would love to learn new skills. Depends what skills you have in mind. And by the way, keep your hands off our kids. Why 14? Why this just arbitrary number? Why not 15 or 13 or 12? Thank you, Garlic Gorilla.
The reason... Oh, that was funny, Ben. The reason I find this one so bloody interesting, it can't even be 2 weeks ago. We covered a story on The Guardian, which I can't bloody find. And it was basically this writer who said, what we need to do to fix society is force people to spend time with people outside of their class.
Yeah, forcing
and
them
here
is
we've
the
got
word.
the government saying, oh yes, we need to force people to spend time with people outside of their class.
Yes. A national service, I think the only reason that gets a mention is because it will be mandated, as with everything else
Yes.
lately. Will says in the wilderness they can learn to take each other out quiet, no evidence. I would suggest that in the wilderness they can learn who they can and can't trust. Because if you've got people who are going to be essentially living together, if you're talking about hiking and camping, they need to know who they can trust. And I don't trust these people at all. I don't trust anything that's forced. I don't trust the government. I don't trust MPs who want to do things with little boys. Anyway, let's read the rest of the story.
You just said something. The reason national service is mentioned in this is because they're going to make it forced. The angle they're going to take with this, and the reason they're picking 14-year-olds, I reckon, is because they're going to be able to say, because of lockdowns, people's social skills are not where they should be. We need to correct this. We need to have a form of national service where people go out and spend time with other children, or where children go out and spend time with other children and re-socialise. That's going to be the aim.
But what this is going to turn out to be is the equivalent of your mum or your dad forcing you to go and have a sleepover with a kid that bullies you, beats you up every day and makes your life a misery. Only this time you're not going to be able to cry or whine your way out of it. You're going to have to do it. I would be very interested to see what the crime statistics are after this begins. How many random, largely peaceful stabbings occur. Because they have already mentioned that they are predominantly working with children who are victims of knife crime. Oh, sorry, not victims of knife crime. Knife lifestyles, gangs. Anyway, so all that nonsense aside, they reveal the truth as always. The main aim is to get children to mix with people from diverse backgrounds to improve their life chances. So the obvious question is this. What does mixing with people from diverse backgrounds have to do with them improving their life chances? Except, again, by learning who they can and can't trust. But if they're alone in a secluded area that they have to be in with people who know how to wield a knife, that's going to be a very costly exercise, isn't it? Your children are going to pay the price for trusting the wrong people, and they are forced to be with them. Ex-Education Secretary Damian Hinds said, "This country is at its best when people come together." Again, Damian Hinds, here's one for you. Why have you spent the last God knows how many decades trying to rip it apart?
If this country is best when we come together, what's with the lockdowns? If this country is best when we come together, why would you import people who
are nothing like the rest of us?
Their own cultures. Exactly. Why would you bring in people who have nothing to do with us?
And if the country
doesn't make any bloody sense.
And if it's at its best when people come together, why are you enforcing social distancing?
Also, surely coming together implies an element of choice, and now you're mandating that people have to come together.
Yeah, forcing people to spend time with people they have nothing in common with is definitely not going to backfire at all, is it?
No, this is not a recipe for disaster. This is like... this is an idiot's guide how to make friends. Oh, I know. We'll just get all the children to spend time together. It'll be fine.
The thing is, though, these are children, technically, but some of these children are built like men. And some of these children come from cultures that are far more savage. It's just a reality.
Some of them come from cultures where they can jump really high.
Shadow Justice Secretary David Lammy said the idea diagnoses the deepest divisions in our society and provides an urgent manifesto for collective healing, says the race baiter, chief race baiter in Parliament. Mr. Yates says the Brexit vote was like an X-ray of British society in that it revealed our fractures. Well, we don't like being governed by a corrupt organisation. Brexit wasn't about people, it was about organisations taking liberties. It was about sovereignty and agency. Anyway,
kind of interesting now at the same time they're doing this in France as well. I'm just going to open that in another tab. We can take a look at that in a moment. They then go on to say the quarter of Remainers and a fifth of Leavers now do not have a single friend who voted the other way. Okay? Why is that relevant?
That's an interesting point. I'm going to ask everyone in the chat, can you put a 1 in the chat if Remain or Leave ever comes up in a conversation? Given all that we know is coming and all that we are currently dealing with, does anyone actually care how someone voted in a referendum that took place in 2016? These people are banging on about this division because all they do is cause division while claiming they want to heal it. It's utter rubbish. I don't care what people voted for. I don't care if they changed their mind. I don't care if they've stuck to their guns. We're in this mess now, and we have one enemy. And the one enemy is the government and their tyrannical behaviour. Exactly, there you go. Everyone's saying the same thing. Nobody cares. Only the government care because it's another wedge that they drive between us.
Only the government and the far left.
Well,
the
yes.
far left like to care.
Yes, I read a very interesting report actually about the far left. They have a much worse opinion of people on the opposite side than anyone on the right does because they are nasty, nasty little people.
But they're also... they're better with facts, apparently. Let's go find that article. Do you want to take a look at the French National Service one or not?
We can do. Let's get through this one anyway before we move on to the other two. So his research, right, there are 400,000 long-term jobless and half do not know anyone in work, he goes on to say. Well, that's because you shut loads of businesses down and told people to stay at home and put them on furlough. You're a bunch of idiots. But research shows unemployed people are 13% more likely to find a job if they have a pal with one. There you go. If your friends are in work, you're going to get a job. In his book, Fractured, Why Our Societies Are Coming Apart and How to Put Them Back Together Again, Mr. Yates adds, half of us have no friends from a different ethnic group. Boo-hoo! But the greatest division is class.
Matter?
Well, the greatest division is class while you're banging on about ethnicity. Why are you forcing it on people? Now his idea could break barriers if school chiefs agree, like they have a choice.
Why do school chiefs... One minute, why do school chiefs need to agree? Surely parents need to agree.
No,
surely the child themselves need to agree, not bloody school.
No.
Like,
the state is the parent and the school is its caretaker.
No, fair enough. Oh, it's much like with cars and registered owners.
Yes, you'd never actually own your car. You're just looking up.
You never actually own your child. You simply get in trouble if your child doesn't go to the appropriate school at the appropriate time.
You're the surrogate, aren't you? You raise your child and then you hand it over to them to go through school and college and university, and then they corrupt their minds, and then your child turns on you, calls you a racist, and becomes a sweaty communist. Brilliant. The Heads Conference, which represents 296 independent schools. I must open this. I can only see what's on the screen. 296 independent schools. Independent, sure. They're not all rolling out no outsiders and critical race theory, are they? Says any changes must be designed in collaboration with schools. Again, totally ignoring anything the parents want, or the children, for that matter.
Once again, schools are completely irrelevant. This is the prime example that school has way, way, way too much power.
Oh, yes.
Because school is designed specifically to put power in the hands of the government.
Oh, this is interesting.
School, they have various ways of making sure that an adult is controlled by the government, and school is the way that they make sure children are controlled by the government. These sort of conversations have nothing to do with school. Down with school. Don't send your children to school if you can help it.
If you're sending your children to school, there is a lot worse in store for them. If you think things are bad now, just wait. If they're going to put these things in place and mandate them, the one thing they're going to take away from you is the choice to remove your children. The longer you wait, the larger the risk that you cannot pull them out.
Mm-hmm.
The Education Department said it spent £1 billion on teen voluntary citizenship programmes in 10 years. What is this? What is this nonsense?
I don't know what you mean. It's perfectly reasonable to spend 100 million a year on...
The way they word it again, the Education Department said it spent this money. Whose money is it? It's not theirs, it's yours. It's your money.
Surely as well, this is kind of facetious, I suppose, but surely a part of being voluntary is that it doesn't cost any money, let alone 100 million quid. Like, I can understand if they said, oh, they spent 100 million quid on voluntary citizenship programs in 10 years. You could say, okay, fine, administration costs, whatever. But 100 million a year? What are you doing? How much money is going to Clinton and Gates?
What does that even mean, teen voluntary citizenship? Why is it so expensive?
Why is it so expensive? There's a lot of money.
I mean, all right, they do say that's over 10 years. They do say that's over 10 years. So we'll break that down to, we'll say, I don't know, what, 100 million? Is that per year? I suck at maths. Oh, it's designed specifically for 16, 17-year-olds. Well, that's why they're going after the 14-year-olds.
Because they need the lower level. Obviously, 16 and 17 is too old. You can't mine quite as efficiently in such a short space of time. You'll spend a few weeks in the summer or autumn mixing with a new crowd and taking on fresh challenges together. Before you know it, you'll be rooting for each other as you tackle your own little hurdles.
Whoa! Before you know it, you'll be rooting for each other. What kind of challenges are they talking about? Are they talking about all the stabbings that occur every summer?
One minute. What sort of 16 to 17-year-old wants to read the phrase, as you tackle your own little hurdles?
It's very condescending.
It's incredibly condescending. That's the sort of thing you would say to an 8-year-old. Even then, I'm not sure you'd say that. Along the way, you'll also get a taste for independence and pick up skills that help you smash your future goals. And if that's not enough for you, you'll be given a platform to get your voice heard and pursue a passion project to create a positive, lasting impact in your local community. To get your voice heard.
Yeah.
Platform is rather interesting.
Some people are getting platformed, aren't they? Some people have a voice, are allowed a voice.
Can I identify as a 16 to 17-year-old? Go on this. If you've already turned 18 by this day, you unfortunately won't be eligible. Once again, can I identify as an 18-year-old? Or a 17-year-old, rather?
It's interesting, though. This has come about because you, as parents, all of you, like everyone, you're not giving enough authority to the state. You're not doing it fast enough, and you're not doing it large enough. So they're going to take it by force. Your children are simply units to them. They don't care about your children. They're useful. They're going to use them. These are grown adults that you are paying who are going to use your children, turn them against you, and put them in harm's way. And you are paying them for the privilege. This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I agree, Will. This program is half good. If the people in charge could be trusted. But they can't.
I'd still rather community-sponsored camping trips.
I'd rather community-organised camping trips because I don't trust big government.
Same general gist. Even so, apparently France brings this back as well now. I find it interesting. I've not seen this at all. This was from 2018.
What a coincidence.
It is. I'm kind of interested to know when. National service set to be introduced, blah, blah, blah. Kind of irrelevant. The first is a mandatory month-long placement during school holidays, which may involve working alongside the police, fire, or army. What on earth would it... How could you work alongside the police as a child? It's not like working in the fire service or army. You know, if you mess something up while you're in the police, the criminal goes free. Like, that doesn't sound good to me.
It's not like they're going to go to parts of the country that are no-go zones and see a load of vibrant migrants like torching cars and stuff. What are they going to do? Have children in the car for a ride along? What are they talking about? During the school holidays, it's another month they get your children.
Are ride-alongs real things?
I don't know. I think that might be an American thing. Any Americans in the audience? Confirm.
Will, have you ever been on a ride-along?
And also, can we go back to the story we were halfway through?
Which one was that?
The first one of these three.
The first one of these three. I tell you what, considering you whinge at me for saying Clarissa Dick, your direction-giving skills are non-existent. I hope to God nobody's ever been stuck in a car with you trying to read a map. Bloody hell.
Oh, people don't read maps anymore. Don't be silly.
What do you mean halfway through? We had like 2 paragraphs left.
Yeah, well, I didn't. I wanted to read it.
Oh my God! Read it.
Are the comments any good? You can have a look at those while I read this. So this is John Yates banging on again about forced diversity. Most of us want a country where everyone gets a fair chance, then create it and stop ripping it apart. It makes us mad that children of the rich snap up the best jobs. No, it doesn't. It's not right a working class child gets... You moved it.
I'm not even on that page.
Right, okay, I'll open the link.
There you go.
It's not right a working class child gets good grades and still misses out. But as the saying goes, it's not what you know, it's who you know. In our divided society, richer kids have networks we can't access. Now the richest 5% live in a bubble and don't know what our life is like. You're one of them! How much was his company worth? 200 million? Our elected leaders are a bubble of middle-class graduates. 30 years ago, a third of Labour MPs were working class. Today, just 3% are, and it's losing the working class vote. The result is a democracy that isn't working. It's losing the working class vote because most of the Labour MPs are foreign. Nobody can relate to them. And you stand for stupid stuff like full-term abortions, which is basically baby murdering that nobody agrees with if they have a conscience. Idiots. We've destroyed your country. We're the rich people living in a bubble. We don't care about poor people and their chances, but I'm going to stand here and say I want to help poor people. Utter rubbish. Don't trust you. Don't believe you. The result is a democracy that isn't working. That's not the thing that's destroying democracy, although it's part of it. Being locked in our homes while our borders are open, there's another reason democracy isn't working. Why don't you fight an actual fight that is a problem right now? These people, the condescension again, that we cannot fix our own problems. If they gave us the freedom to actually fix our own problems, to open businesses without all the paperwork and legislation, to own a car, to provide your own fuel, to grow your own food, to set up your own communities, if we had the freedom and the lack of interference to do all of this, that would fix our problems. But they can't keep their fingers...
That's what it all boils down to.
Sorry.
This is the thing they hate the most. They've needed every advantage possible in order to get to where they are. We, meanwhile, don't need it. Not only don't we need it, we don't like it and we don't appreciate it. We don't want handouts from government helping us forward. We just want government to leave us alone. If you look at us historically, we have done the best when we have been left alone.
Yeah.
You see this after the Black Plague. After the Black Death, Europe's population was drained, the feudal system collapsed. One of the major reasons the Renaissance happened was because people were able to go out, away from the feudal system, and just do what they wanted to do. You were able to farm land you previously weren't able to farm, you were able to buy land you weren't able to buy, you were able to set up mills and factories and all that sort of stuff. We expanded. The brakes were then put on slightly during the 1700s. And then, French Revolution and all that sort of stuff happened shortly afterwards. We then enter into the Victorian era and the Industrial Revolution, and all those changes when it all came clattering down and everything was basically a free market, free for all, and it was wonderful. And we screamed away. We made more progress in that 100-odd years than we did in the previous 1,000. And the entire reason is because government basically left us alone. We paid a very small tax. That very small tax basically went towards running the army, running some form of diplomatic service, and basic things like roads. That was it. We were left alone, and we did bloody well. And this was the system that we had all the way up until after the Great War. Once the Great War happened, Labour started to get in, not just in this country, but the left in general around the world. They started to grow in power, most obviously in the Soviet Union. We as a people just want to be left alone. And we do really, really well. You look at the worst time of it this country's ever had, it was in the 70s. The 70s were an awful bloody time in this country. Reason? Everything was socialised. Or it was just towards the end of everything being socialised. It was awful. If I remember correctly, I think it was in the 50s. I don't remember my numbers exactly, but I do remember one. At one stage, 86% of our economy was socialised, which is more than what they had in the Soviet Union, because the Soviet Union still had a black market. We don't do well when we're crushed by government. We do bloody well when we're left alone, and that's what these people are incredibly jealous of.
You could argue as well that given everything that they have forced upon us in the last year and a half, they've got to continue with this tyranny. Everyone understands that, because people are starting to think about the pitchforks. They can't have us having the freedom to hold them to account. The more tyranny they impose on us, the more tyranny they must impose on us. Because people are starting to push back, and they have to shut that down. They can't have it. People can whine and complain on, YouTube channels and various things. But when things start to become real, when people actually start to network and come together and see that they really have the power, and they've always had the power, that's when they're truly afraid. They are afraid of us. They're afraid of us because they know if they just pulled back and left us alone, we would do so much better without them. They need to justify their existence. Otherwise, no one would bother. No one would vote. No one would fund them. Imagine if the entire country decided today, or the entire world decided today, to just stop paying taxes. I know that we can't do that in every country. PAYE has basically scuppered that for us in the UK, and I don't quite know how it works everywhere else. But imagine if we had the ability to do that, just to withdraw all of our contributions, all of us together globally on the same day. That would frighten the hell out of them. This is why we have to come together. This is why no matter how much or how little you do, as long as you are networking, as long as you are connecting with other people who feel the same, building those communities. Your community doesn't have to be a real tangible thing. It doesn't have to have a gate and a fence. It's people. People make communities. Andrew is a good example, and so is Jonathan. Just going out and meeting people. Doesn't matter if they live next door to you or 10 miles away. People that you spend time with, that you can plan with, that you can do real things with, that builds community. Jordan's come up with a fantastic idea for a flyer, and it's still a work in progress.
It might be done by tomorrow.
But the theme of it is about keeping everything local, as English Bird says. Oh, jumped, sorry. English Bird is not Xanth, I promise. Spend little, pay cash, and starve the beast. Starving the beast has always been the key. The longer we play along, the longer they exist. This will never end. It doesn't matter how you push back. It doesn't matter if you just start going to your local farm for your meat, or if you start growing your vegetables, or if you start shopping at the local hardware store instead of going down to I know, B&Q or Halfords or whatever.
Bloody B&Q. One thing, sorry, getting onto this is more of a make to a mainstream subject. I never realised, but around me, and I would imagine around everybody, if you just look up tooling companies, you can find all sorts of shops that are basically hardware shops in all but name.
Absolutely. It's worth the extra 5 minutes to just shop around. We've said before, the big companies do have the ability to undercut small businesses for obvious reasons. They can buy larger quantities of stock. Buying in bulk obviously reduces the price, but you'll find that's not always the case, because ultimately the thing that always lets them down is their greed. So the reality is, if you shop around, you can probably find the same item for the same price. If you can get to that particular store or business, please do so. These small businesses are going to be the foundation of any new communities that we build. And if they all die off because we're still, conveniently shopping with the big guns, there won't be any businesses to kick off these communities. We still need these things. We're still going to need cleaning materials. We're still going to need things like, dustpans and brushes and brooms and parts for appliances and you name it. We're going to need those things. Until we find a better system, we need to start working with the best of this system.
Mm-hmm.
And these small businesses are the best. So that's really something that we want to drive home this summer. If we do not support these people who are being literally having the guts ripped out of them, they're going to disappear, like so many have before them.
Yeah, and this is the problem. They are systematically attempting to destroy small businesses.
Yeah.
That's what this latest lockdown delay is all about.
Good on you, Made in Cornwall. Yes. I know lots of people are. But we need to get millions of people doing this. It's genuinely worth networking for this kind of thing. This is such a neutral subject. You could literally discuss this with anyone. Yep. Starve the beast, buy local.
A really prime example of that. A really prime example of that is, oddly enough, something that kind of happened to me over the weekend. I had a chip in my windscreen. I needed it dealt with. And rather than go to someone like Autoglass, I went round to my mechanic. I asked him, I said, hello, mate, do you know someone who does this? And turns out he does. Apparently there's only one guy in the area that does it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Small local guy, he lives around here. Hopefully won't need him again, but nothing to do with his quality of work, just because I don't like the habit of chipping windscreens.
English Bird. I've been thinking about FreeCycle a lot, and I wonder if anyone would be willing to pick up adverts from places like FreeCycle and start posting them up on the Discord. One man's rubbish is another man's treasure. I was going to say junk, rubbish.
I'm surprised that was the word you were going for. Fair enough.
Too English for my own good. But yeah, what if we start sharing these things? If you find any adverts where people are literally giving something away that you could repair or repurpose, we should start sharing these. It may be someone who just lives down the road from someone and they can go and collect it.
I've only recently come across this. On Facebook Marketplace, there's a load of people giving away free stuff. And when you look at it, a lot of it is old, obviously. A lot of it is decrepit and probably unusable. But every now and then you come across something and you're really quite surprised. It's still maybe not new, but certainly within reason, good enough.
Well, you've got to remember as well that we generally have a lack of space. When somebody buys something new, it doesn't necessarily mean that the thing they're replacing is worn out. It may just be that they've got something new and they have nowhere to store it. So
especially when it comes to things such as mouse pads.
yeah.
Mouse pad's probably not the world's greatest example. I was actually
Even
thinking
sofas
one
and
that I did see,
armchairs.
and it was a computer rack. If you're somebody who needs a rack-mounted computer for whatever reason, every now and then one does pop up for free. I've seen at least 2 around me in the past couple of months. They're perfectly serviceable. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just the person who owned it has upgraded. They've got something bigger and better. And it's not really worth the hassle of trying to sell it on eBay.
And if you're looking to make some money and you can repair items and you're a bit handy with stuff like that, why not pick up all these freebies? If you're willing to put in the time and an effort to go and collect them and they're free, you could probably sell them if you put some work into them. They could be a business for you.
Absolutely.
Well, that's a good point, Arias. He says we don't have a lack of space. We just fill the space with stuff we don't need. That is true.
To be fair, our houses are real tiny.
They are, and I've become a bit of a hoarder. I'm very aware. I'm keeping an eye on the fact that the price of things is going through the roof. With the manufactured food crises and shortages, the price of timber going up, it's probably worthwhile if you have space not to throw things out that are still in working order. But that said, it may be that you've just redecorated and you're in the market for something else. You may have picked up a bargain yourself. Somebody else could use what you've got. I mean, again, we used to do this within communities. We used to do this. Mm-hmm. Everything got passed along to someone else. Nothing ever got thrown away. So, it's something to think about. And if you know of something, we're quite a diverse group ourselves. We're in different countries. We're all over the country. Something that you think is a great bargain or would be a great freebie that you just physically cannot get to, maybe someone else could benefit. So,
getting back to the food thing quickly, anyone who goes through a lot of tomatoes, buy up as many cans as you can reasonably at the moment, because apparently Italy are facing a can shortage. Ironic. I do get rather annoyed at these nations who announce such things on a week when we don't have the dig stream. Be convenient. Work to my schedule for once, will you? If you're going to tell me everything is awful, at least do it on a week where I can actually do something about it.
Well, Digstream notwithstanding, I mean, the obvious answer to this is buy as many cans as you can reasonably store, or grow your own tomatoes and can them. There are numerous videos on YouTube that show you how to do this. There's just loads of information online. So many literal walkthroughs. There is no way for you to mess this up. People go through it. They tell you what you need to buy. They give you very explicit instructions. You could be doing this yourself. If anyone has got a cupboard or even a shelf that's going spare, you've got a space to put canned goods.
Go buy as many tins of tomatoes as possible. Problem solved.
The shortages
also,
are
if possible,
artificial. I agree, Matt. We know that they're being manufactured, and we know that they're going to blame this probably on Brexit. This transport breakdown, that the supply chain is going to break down. What was that building? There was another building that mysteriously exploded, wasn't there?
That was a grease factory.
Yeah. Again, it's all part of the food chain.
It was a grease factory that provided grease for lubrication of machine parts for the food industry, among other industries. I'll be honest, of all things that have caught fire recently, that seems to be the least important. It does kind of have something to do with the food industry, but at the end of the day, grease isn't something we're going to be running out of.
No, but even so, it just goes to show that they just don't care to hide it anymore.
Agreed.
So many buildings have been destroyed. Grain silos and crops and eggs and chickens, and we know that farmers were being told to throw away gallons of perfectly fine milk last year. We know that farmers are being subsidised generously to destroy their crops.
Mm-hmm.
The only way around this for us now is to, and I know we can't possibly make up in every case the amount of food that we consume, but we can take the pressure off. We can have a backup plan. And if you can bottle or can, or jar, anything, you can preserve it for years. It really does come down to preparing for the future.
I have an emergency question from Roy
Go
Bob.
on.
He has asked Sir Francis if he remembers how long it takes for the potatoes to pop their head up. If anyone in chat has an answer, all answers will be appreciated.
It's a shame you didn't ask a little while ago. Didn't Jonathan have to go?
I think he did, yeah. That's why I said emergency. Someone in chat will remember.
If you can't get the answer you need this evening, you can always jump on the Discord and at Jonathan, and I'm sure he'll get back to you as soon as he's free.
Indeed. I agree with Beer Hall. I'd like to get into canning as well. It looks fun, if nothing else. Being able to can up a load of stuff, like some bolognese, some chili, whatever, and then just store it. Not having to put it in a fridge, not having to put it in the freezer, none of that nonsense. No. Just create a rack, put it on the rack, store it. Done. I'd like to get into it as well. The bloody problem is trying to find a little pressure cooker that's big enough to do large quantities. It's really, really expensive. And I don't actually know why, I'll be honest. I'd like to see if I can find another solution. I see no reason why I can't. All it is at the end of the day is a pressure cooker that doesn't even get up to terribly high pressure. So there must be ways around this.
Pot. You can do it in a large pot though, can't you?
That you can only do certain things that way. Joanne, we covered this in the food storage guide. Barn door, I agree, mate. Stay away from Canning Town. Definitely. They spent 4.6 billion upgrading that place, and it's still a dump. How? You can still smell the bloody the Marge factory that was there and was knocked down like a decade ago. What's wrong with it? What's wrong with this stinky place?
Well, once again, it's the people that make a place, isn't it? And there's no point clearing a place out and making it nice if the people that live there don't look after it. So,
agree. Well, I'm not sure it was ever looked after, but yeah, I can criticise this as much as I feel like, because my aunt has recently done the family tree and basically found out that we were in that area since time frigging began. She's very proud of this fact.
Oh, that's lovely.
It's actually kind of remarkable because she has like a little map and everything. She's mapped up like, this is where Uncle John used to live. And then you go through the family tree and you realise Uncle John is actually like Uncle John of 200 years ago. It's like, oh, that's not really Uncle John, is it, love? That's something else. That's like great uncle. Calm down.
Old Mother Earth, just get back to tomatoes, says tomatoes in tins is not good as tomatoes are very acidic. Jars would be better. There you go. Thank you for that.
Agreed.
So yes, as always, loads of good tips. We hope you enjoyed the show. We hope you enjoyed the stories. I think Ms. Machete was my favourite story.
It would have been better if you didn't butcher it.
You butchered it. Don't even start me off.
You and your tiny female brain, they upset me. I couldn't understand
my God.
it.
Don't even start.
Shut up, I'll get Nick in here, he'll agree with me.
Keep an eye out for this national service thing, because this is very, very scary indeed. I mean, at the moment, they're just trying to mandate you to, stick stuff in your children, and you don't know how safe it is. But they want to take your children off into the wilderness, away from you, with some random person in charge of them, and hope that nothing bad happens. I think asking for trouble is an understatement. But they're going to mandate it, and you just won't have a choice. We're really going to get back into the homeschooling thing over the next few weeks and cover it.
Indeed.
We want to simplify it. Anyone who's on the fence about taking their children's future into their hands, we don't want you to worry. You cannot compare a state education to homeschooling, for starters. And if your child is going to learn a trade, that makes it just so much better.
Mm-hmm.
It just gives you so much freedom. Your children are going to be safe. You know where they are. Especially given the Ofsted report that's come out, that a massive amount of sexual, I I'm thinking violence. That's not the word I want.
Not assaults, but just inappropriate behaviour of a sexual
Behaviour
nature.
is occurring across all schools.
Mm-hmm.
To the point it's become so prevalent that children are no longer reporting it. So when you send your child to school, they're at risk of bullying or worse, and you don't know. And if your child doesn't tell you and the teacher doesn't tell you,
you have no way of knowing.
And no way of dealing with it. But if your children are with you, you know that they're safe, you know that they're learning what sensible information, sensible reality, not this nonsense that they want to fill their heads with. So everything that we have, everything that we ever were, is at stake right now. And we can either step up and deal with it, or we can lay down and take it. It really is up to us now. Any tiny change we make is a change for the better. Doesn't matter how large or small that first step is, but we all need to start taking these steps. So yes, anyway, thank you everyone who joined us. Always good to see you. Thank you so much for just another great contribution in the chat. Always wonderful to chat with you. We are back tomorrow. Tomorrow, of course, is the community stream, so we hope to see you at 7:30. And Jordan is starting his project this week, aren't you, on Thursday?
I forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me.
So, yes.
That's confidence right there.
That is the 3D printer. So if anyone is interested in this project, please turn up and show some support. We really would like to get loads of ideas from you guys as to the best way forward. We know there's a lot of people in our streams who, work with electrics and work with various parts and machines. So all contributions, really grateful. Because Jordan...
Get involved, it'll be fun.
Yeah, this is an amateur project for Jordan, so he'd really appreciate your input. So thank you, everyone. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow at 7:30. Have a very good evening.
Bye for now.